Good morning, Year 3. Welcome to our first Maths No Problem lesson. Today's date is the 6th of January 2021, and we are going to be learning to divide by 4. I want you to write today's date and learning objective into your home learning book, which you should have in front of you. And then I want you to write a subheading of In Focus. In Focus task this morning has got some cupcakes. And it's asking us to put these equally into 4 boxes. The question is, how many cupcakes are there in each box? So I want you to have a think about what the answer might be, and I want you to think about how you could show that. I want you to show me in 2 different ways how you could answer that question. Think about how you might draw it, how you might write it, and how you might represent that question. I'm going to get you to pause the video so that you can answer that. If you can come up with more than 2 ways, that will be absolutely fantastic. And there may be some team points for those people that are able to show me that they've done that in more than 2 different ways correctly. So pause the video here and see if you can answer that question for me. Hopefully you've been able to draw at least 2 different ways of showing the cupcakes in 4 boxes. There's a few different ways that you could show this, so we're going to have a look at a couple of them together. Here you can see that I've got 4 blue boxes to represent the boxes that the cupcakes would go in. Now, one thing that's really important that we do first is to work out how many cupcakes there are in total. So hopefully you've all worked out that there are 12 cupcakes altogether. That's going to be really important because when we're grouping them into our 4 boxes, we need to know how many it is that we're looking for. One of the other important steps that we need to consider is making sure that we're putting the same number of cupcakes into each box to represent each group. So for the first one, we're going to make sure that there is 1 cupcake in each box. That should give us a total of 4. So we've got 1, 2, 3 and 4. We've still got to count up to 12, so we can keep going by putting another cupcake into each box. Once we've done that, we can then double check that we haven't gone over 12 by counting either in 2s, so 2, 4, 6, 8, or we could count individually in 1s, and that gives us a total of 8. We still need to get to 12, so we still need to keep going. So I'm going to add another cupcake into each box. And I'm then going to double check and see what answer I've got. So I've got 3 in this one. Add another 3 is 6. Add another 3 is 9. And add another 3 is 12. So I've got to my answer of 12. So looking at this, it's showing me that I have got 3 cupcakes in each box and that I have got 4 boxes in total. Another way that I could do this is to do a bar model. To do my bar model, I would have to write the number 12 in my top box to show that my total number of cupcakes is 12. I have then got 4 different boxes. In each of these boxes, I am going to think about the number that I'm going to place in each of them. Now, looking at the boxes that I've just drawn, I can hopefully work out that the answer needs to be 3. And that if I add those 3 together, I get a total of 12. One last way that I could answer this question would be to write a number sentence. Now, when we're writing a number sentence with our division statements, it's really important that our biggest number goes at the start of our sentence. So my biggest number is going to be 12. So if I have 12 and I divide that into 4 equal groups, I know that my answer is going to be 3. So those are at least 3 different ways that you could show that calculation and answer that in focus task. And I look forward to seeing what answers and ways you came up with. Now that you've come up with your own ways, we're going to have a look at our Let's Learn tasks, and we're going to see how this is going to help us to understand when we are dividing by 4 equally how our answer is going to be understood. So we've already expressed the fact that we know that we have got 12 cupcakes in total. That is our number that we are dividing by 4. And we need to divide by 4 to find out how many there are in each box. You can see here that there are 4 boxes clearly shown, and that each of these boxes has got, as we've said previously, 3 in each. We therefore know that our calculation is going to be 12 divided by 4 equals 3. We can also see that there are some multiplication facts that are linked to that. So we know that 3 groups of 4 is 12, but we also know that 4 multiplied by 3 equals 12 as well. So we can answer the question and say that there are 3 cupcakes in each box. Have a think about if you had 4 more cupcakes. If you had 16 cupcakes in total, how many cupcakes would there be on each box then? Have a pause and see if you can have a think. So hopefully you've had a think about that. And if we have a look at our 4 extra cupcakes that we've got, if we were to put those on each tray in each box, we would have a total of 4 in each box, because our calculation would be 16 divided by 4, which would then equal 4 in total. Here we're going to look at a slightly different question where we're putting the 12 cupcakes into groups of 4. Now this is very, very similar, but there is a significant difference that's really important to recognise and to think about. What we're looking at here is we're dividing the 12 cupcakes that we've got. We've still got the same number of cupcakes, but we're dividing them into groups of 4 this time, rather than 4 groups. Our calculation is still exactly the same because we're still dividing 12 by 4, and that's still going to give us an answer of 3. But the 3, rather than representing the number of cupcakes, is now going to represent the number of groups. So what the question is asking you is it's asking you, if you were to group them into 4s, how many equal groups would you have? And you can see this from the cupcakes that you've got on the screen. You can see that there are 12 cupcakes in total. They've been divided into groups of 4, and therefore there are 3 plates, and each of those plates has 4 on them. If we were to add up each of these numbers, we can show, using our repeated addition, that our answer would be 12. This is an important thing that we can do to double check our answer. We could also use the inverse operation to check that our question was correct. So we could use 3 multiplied by 4 to check our answer was 12. I want to spend some time now thinking about that really important difference between groups of 4 and 4 equal groups, because although it may sound very much the same, it's really important to understand the difference. So we're going to look at groups of 4 first. So here we're looking at a question that's going to ask us to draw groups of 4, where in each group that there's going to be 4 in each group. Imagine if you were playing a game with your friends and you wanted 4 people in each team. It might not necessarily mean that you have a set number of teams, but it might be that you want 4 people in each team, and how many teams would you therefore have? So what I want you to do is I want you in your books to draw these 12 circles, which are arranged in a similar way to an array. And what I want you to think about is I want you to consider how you could show this and group them into groups of 4. I want you to pause the video here whilst you do that. And underneath, I want you to write a stem sentence which has got an explanation as to how many groups of 4 you have. So I want to apologise for my writing first and foremost. I'm using a mouse and I'm not quite practiced in it yet. Forgetting that for a moment, let's have a look at how we've grouped this together. So we wanted 4 in each group, so I've made sure that each group that I was drawing had 4 in. And what that shows me is in total, I had 3 groups. 3 groups of 4. So my stem sentence that I've written tells me that. I've written that there are 3 groups of 4. I've still got my 12 in total. I've still got my groups of 4, but the question would have been to find out how many equal groups you had. If we move on to the next one, we're going to look at equal groups. In this, we're looking at the same number of circles. We've still got 12 in total, but we're looking instead at putting them into 4 equal groups. I want you to do the same that you've just done. I want you to group them into those 4 equal groups, and I want you to then write me a sentence underneath. Think about this time that you're playing a game outside, but you want there to be 4 equal groups. It doesn't necessarily matter how many people are in each group, but you want 4 equal groups. How are you going to divide these equally? Once again, I apologise for my handwriting. I will practice. Here we're looking at having 4 equal groups. I wonder if you've got the same answer as me. So 4 equal groups, we've got 12 in total divided by 4 gives me 3 in each group. So here you can see that I've got 4 equal groups and that there are 3 in each of them. So my sentence is that there are 3 in each group. We already know that the question would have been asking me how many there were in each group because it's already told me at the top that there are 4 equal groups. If we have a look at our 2 differences, then we've got the first one, which is groups of 4, where we can see that there are 4 in each group. And at the bottom, where we've got 4 equal groups divided into groups of 3. If we were to write the calculations, they would actually be the same. So 12 divided by 4 equals 3. And here the 3 represents the number of groups. Here we've got 12. We've divided them into 4, which gives us a total of 3. However, this time the 3 represents the number in each group. Bear that in mind when you're answering your questions, because you will need to read the question carefully so that you know whether you're grouping them into 4 or whether you are grouping them into 4 equal groups. We're going to have a look at some guided practice questions now. And the first one is asking you to group 24 into 4 equal groups. Have a think about that question carefully and what we've just looked at, thinking about grouping into 4 equal groups. So it doesn't matter how many there are in total, we're looking at the fact that there are 4 equal groups. Question is, how many are there in each group? So if we were going to group 24 into 4 equal groups, what do you think the answer might be? For this question, if it was me answering it, I'd be thinking about looking at drawing 4 circles or 4 groups to show me that I'm looking at this part here about equal groups. Once I'd done that, I'd use that to help me to answer the question. In a moment, you'll have a chance to answer that question for yourself. The next question is looking at putting 24 into groups of 4. This time, we're going to make sure that there are 4 in each group. So if I draw 4, I know that that represents 1 group. I want to do this until I get to my answer of 24. So what I want you to do now is I want you to pause the video and answer these questions and check in a minute to see if you've got the correct answers. If you have a look at the answers that are in front of you, you should be able to see that the answer is the same for both. The answer is 6. If you have a look at the first question where you've got 24 being divided equally into 4 equal groups, you'll find that there are 6 in each of those 4 groups. If you have a look at the second question, you've got 24 divided into groups of 4 and there are 6 groups in total. So those are the answers for those questions. We're going to do some more guided practice questions now. And question 3 is asking you to write the missing numbers. We've got 20 divided by 4 is equal to something, and that 4 multiplied by something equals 20. For part B, we've got 32 divided by 4 is equal to something, and that something multiplied by 4 equals 32. You'll notice here that the second part of the calculation is using the inverse operation to check our answer. Spend a few minutes now pausing the video and answering these questions and checking back with the answers in a minute. So you hopefully have answered those questions now, and the answers that you should have are on the screen. So we've got 20 divided by 4 is equal to 5, and we can check that by using the inverse operation and 4 multiplied by 5, which gives us 20. For the second part, we've got 32 divided by 4, which is equal to 8, and we've then used the inverse operation of multiplication to multiply 8 by 4, which gives us a total of 32. What I would like you to do now is I would like you to complete the questions that are on the worksheet that are attached to the video in a moment. Either write the questions out onto your book, or if you've got access to Teams and are watching this on Teams, you can then go back and answer the questions onto Teams by typing a box and typing the answer into that box on top of the worksheet. What we'll do is we'll then share the answers with you tomorrow, and after you've done that workbook, there is then a challenge that you have got to complete afterwards. So this is worksheet 9. This is the questions that you're going to be answering. Make sure that you read the question carefully and make sure that you draw around the pictures carefully so that you are answering the question. Once you've completed this, go on to the next part of the worksheet, and then the challenge will be after that. These are the second set of questions. Make sure that you look carefully, especially at question 3, where you might need to think carefully about whether it's using multiplication or division to answer the questions. Your challenge question for today is an investigation challenge. Mr. Howe says that there are no numbers that you can divide by 3 where the answer will not be a multiple of 3. Is he correct? Show your working and justify your answer with an explanation. So here I want you to think about whether you can divide a number by 3 where the answer will not be a multiple of 3 or a number that is in the 3 times tables. See if you can show me a couple of examples to support your answer, whether you think it is correct or whether you think it is incorrect, and write an explanation to support your answer. I look forward to reading what you think.